So, and with the recording started, hello again. We will now sit together to our meetup today. I have a little agenda, right? So, and all these times in the agenda, they are obviously not fixed. So specifically because I don't have to tell you that much about the Berlin community leaders. Here in Berlin, we have three Salesforce groups. One is more about administrators, one is about developers, and one is for architects. However, we highly encourage everybody to join all these meetings because this crazy differentiation between different roles in the Salesforce ecosystems, at least I don't understand that, because everybody of us does a valuable job and everybody of us is a developer, an admin, and sometimes even an architect. So yeah, I'm more than happy to welcome everybody to all these groups we have here in Berlin. Some of them, they have physical events from time to time, which is also nice because usually there's free pizza and free drinks. And that's at least a motivation to join these events. So I highly encourage everybody to join us from time to time. For me and myself, I like to have these meetups more and more online. As I said, it's easier to organize and we can have more participants from all over the world. So, and I will no longer spend time with my little monologue here. My name is Roman. I'm Berlin-based. I'm a freelancer and founder of a Salesforce company together with my wife, who's also joining here today. So we are a little family company. We enjoy doing stuff in Salesforce most of the time, the more ugly things, which nobody else wants to touch. This is our specialty. And we have René here today. And René, I highly invite you now to tell us a little bit about yourself before we then jump into your presentation.
Yeah, I actually also have a slide about that, but I can already start like about this. So hi, I'm René. I am at day staff engineer at Just Takeaway, and by night and at weekends, I'm building Nimbus right now, which is like you've already heard, a local Apex runtime and debugger. And what I'm doing in my day-to-day life is essentially I'm working with Salesforce on an enterprise level grade. And at the same time, I'm working a lot with other different platforms. I had the pleasure to look into building applications on an enterprise level with Java, Go, Kafka, SAP. So I have explored a lot of different things in my past, and I'm still doing that actively. And yeah, there are a few things that I learned from them that I have deeply missed in Salesforce, and that's why I have built this product.
Great. I think that you not only miss some of the good things of all these other platforms, right? I can imagine that there's tons of stuff we are missing all day because Salesforce cannot provide it. So I'm more than happy to have you here today. Welcome, René, and thank you so much that you take the time for us. Yeah, it's your show now. I will stop presenting, so feel free to take over the screen.
All right. So everything works then.
One more time, I'm sorry to interrupt you right in the beginning. One more time to all the participants, right? Feel free to ask any question. I will watch the chat. I will collect your questions and I will ask them later. So, René, there you go.
Yeah, so like we already mentioned, I'm here to tell you a bit about Nimbus today, which is my, I would say, very first product that I have been constantly developing and now have brought to the public because it was a really dear project to me. And as you've already heard, Nimbus is a local Apex runtime. And let me just go to the next slide because I've already talked about myself and head straight into the problem. So this is a deeply personal story with me and Salesforce because I have been in the Salesforce space, I think since 2020, mid 2020, and I love developing on Salesforce. I came from SAP. It was a horrible experience for me. Jumped into Salesforce development, started with LWCs, and then more and more got into Apex development and architecture. And whenever I was building anything, most of the times it worked, but then the more you build, the more you have to deploy, the more hiccups you face. I had times where I was developing something, deployed, and the deployment took like 10 minutes. Sometimes when I deploy and I then go to the deployment status, I see that the deployment is currently just in queued, and then I cancel it and I deploy it again, and suddenly it worked within like 1 millisecond. I have no idea why why it didn't work before. We are always working on, and Salesforce has been a development environment where you are able to develop on the org, but you can develop also in VS Code locally. And it's always this bit of a gray area, and you never knew exactly what was actually happening on the org, because you might have your code locally, and then you find a bug that is a broken broken Apex class that has been dormant on the org for ages, and it might be getting called by a random trigger that you have no idea about because you've never seen it in your VS Code. And yeah, all of these things take a lot of time, and they take a lot of unnecessary time. And this actually never shows up in your sprint. Like one week you might be super lucky, and the Salesforce gods are at your side, and you can deploy everything. Your test classes run at the blink of an eye. But sometimes you enqueue an asynchronous test, or you want to run 2 test classes at the same time. So you have to do them asynchronously, and it just won't start, and I don't know why. And then I just go grab a coffee, go back, and it still hasn't started. So therefore, I was doing a little experiment. I think that started in February this year. I had the idea before, but I never had the means to build it. But in February, I was just starting to figure, like, can I make this better, or can I have a little bit of fun with this? And Nimbus is the result of that. It's a full local Apex runtime, so I'm trying to support as much of Apex as possible. Everything that I can find, I will try to support. It actually runs your code on your laptop, so you don't need a connection to the internet. You don't need anything else. You can write Apex as you were writing Java code, Python code, Go code, execute anonymous Apex with it, execute test classes to validate your deployment. And test classes is actually the biggest driver of Nimbus here, because yeah, they are quite important, and I have seen people are not efficiently using test classes anymore because of this annoying thing that you always need to deploy and fix it and then deploy again. And this is like literally the worst thing. So every other ecosystem has figured this out by now, and that's because every other ecosystem has mostly started as a local development. So Java, you have developed first on your machine, and then you deployed it anywhere, to AWS or to your coffee machine. I think like 90% of all machines in the world run on Java, I once read. In Python, the same thing. JavaScript, which is a web-first language, runs on your machine. You can develop your website in React completely locally, and it will look the same and act the same once you deploy it to a server. And with also modern languages like Go and Rust, they have been local first, even though something like Go is definitely built for the cloud. And Apex just never had that. And with Nimbus, I'm trying to enable this. So Nimbus is source-driven first. Anything that's not in your repository, Nimbus cannot read, which is clear as day, because if you're looking at building an application in Java, if you're building an app for the App Store in Kotlin or Swift, you don't say, hey, there's somewhere a class in the Google Cloud that I might need for this, but it's not on this repository. So yeah, just assume what it's doing and add it to the build. You would never say that. With Salesforce, it's kind of like some clouds live locally in my repository, some may be on the cloud, but I don't know exactly what I'm expecting here. So everything you do is executing locally. We can't know what's in your cloud. Nimbus has some features to retrieve metadata that might be missing. But of course, you know your org best and what you need to do all the metadata you need. So it forces you a bit more into actually developing locally. If anyone has the question already on their mind, but I don't want certain metadata in my repository. I have the same issue sometimes. For example, I don't want any list views in my repository. They are just cluttering everything. I don't want to have the queues in there, because if I deploy them, they will get rid of all the users that have been configured on the org by my admin. And I don't want my admin to always go through the development cycle if they add a new user. That's just annoying. So there's also a way to seed certain metadata. That's absolutely annoying to have in your repository. With a properties file, I can show that later. But first of all, I want to show you how does Nimbus actually work. Nimbus is built on Go, so you get Apex at the speed of Golang. And really simplified, it's grabbing the Apex source, so your CLS class, passes it in to the lexer. The lexer tokenizes the text, so it breaks it down to the keywords, the identifiers, literals, and operators, then hands it over to the parser that turns the token stream into a structured tree. And then we have the AST, the abstract syntax tree, that parses the program to as a tree of nodes representing classes, methods, and expressions, and then the interpreter that walks over the AST. So it's a standard AST workflow, language interpretation. I am thinking about, if I'm ever able to do that, go with bytecode. But right now, it's what makes the walking skeleton actually walk. And as of now, there's no need to optimize that, because it's already fast enough. So the interpreter then has a SOQL engine that translates all of your SOQL statements and SOSL statements into SQL that can be then called with the local PostgreSQL database that I've embedded into Nimbus. And also the interpreter will interact with it for DML statements and anything else. Nimbus is a niche. I have to say, Nimbus is definitely a niche. You will not be able to replace everything that you do with Nimbus, but it will speed up your local development cycle. And that's what was most important for me. I'm working a lot with agents developing for me. If they need to use the Salesforce CLI to run a test, and they are often not sure that something is deployed, they will just run it and say, it didn't work. Let me just check what's on the org. It will retrieve it. And then we'll figure out, oh, it wasn't deployed. Tell me, please deploy it. Instead of deploying it itself, then does the deployment, waits, runs the test, figures out it breaks, but didn't check the ID for the report, for the debug log. So it runs it again. That's just absolutely annoying. So it's for your inner development cycle. It's not it's not trying to replace Salesforce in the whole thing. It also doesn't replace you going into the org after you deployed it and actually testing your development if it's working, because that's still the Salesforce domain. I don't have any UI that is faking the Salesforce Lightning UI. That's still the Salesforce domain. If you're lucky and you have Apex mocks already everywhere enabled or developed like this, it's perfect. Like Salesforce will run your tests really, really fast, but you still need to go through the whole thing of deploying to an org and to make them work. And Nimbus fully supports the stubbing API, so there's actually no reason to deploy before you have finished your work. There was once when I was writing about this on LinkedIn, comment like, why do you want to have a database if you could stop everything and you develop it locally? And the easy reason is not everything can be stopped, or not everyone has already migrated all of the tests to not use a database. So therefore, if you do local development, you need a database, otherwise Salesforce doesn't work. And this one is super important for me, where I was always fighting with DevOps, a nice DevOps cycle in Salesforce. I always wanted to have my feature requests validated easily, and if I wanted to do this, I would have to create a scratch org pool and pull an org for the scratch org, or same with the sandbox pool. Deploy everything on there, authenticate. If I use one sandbox all the time, what I would need to do is, if I refresh it, I would then need to redo the JWT certification for everything. And Nimbus just runs in a CI, so GitHub Actions, GitLab, and also produces a standardized JUnit XML and supports SonarQube and everything that you would like to have in there. And this is the very first question I got from the first person that ever tested Nimbus. Why Postgres? Why not use in-memory databases like SQLite? And the answer at that time was because I knew Postgres and I didn't even consider anything else. Then I did some digging, because the whole thing just started as a joke, right? I did some digging and I figured out Postgres is actually the perfect solution for me and for the product, because it supports everything that I need. It's the closest thing I could find to having an embedded database in my product that is not an in-memory database. Just couldn't do that. If you have any database that you might think is in memory and could support everything that I need, I would absolutely love to explore that. Right now, Postgres is the best solution for me. And one of the most decisive ones is the deferral to constraints. Something I have been struggling a lot with was unique identifiers. So, for example, an email needs to be unique, and I do a test and I run the test in parallel, and multiple tests insert the same email address. Postgres will say, doesn't work. I need to defer that to later until all the tests are being done and I can return the right validation for a field. So the issue that comes with it is it's a bit slower. You have Postgres as a database, which doesn't sound nice, and any memory would sound way nicer, but it's just the way it sounds. So yeah, it's absolutely working, and it's I think the best database we have found so far. And I can talk all day long about this, but I think you would rather see something how it's actually working. So I have prepared a demo. It will not dive into everything, but I hope it will give you like this aha moment that I had the first time I ran this. I ran my first tiny Apex class with Nimbus. So you can find Nimbus on testnimbus.dev. I don't really have the best SEO, so it's hard to find. Better to type it in directly. And there you can find all the information about Nimbus, how it works, and you will, if you're interested about pricing, because I don't want this to be a marketing presentation. I really want this to be something interesting for other developers. The runtime will be free forever. I do not want to make money on running Apex tests locally. there is a pro version that I want to launch one day with a price tag on it. Right now, it's absolutely free. Everything if you want to test it, the only thing you need to do is you need to sign up, which will then forward you to a portal that will give you a button to click. I want to activate Nimbus, and then you use Nimbus login and your CLI to activate it, and you have full access to all the pro features, because I would love to hear everyone's feedback on how it works, and I don't want to put a price tag on the feedback that you can provide. So the whole product actually benefits from everyone. You will also see a lot of resources. The changelog is super important. So you see, I've done a lot of changes in the past. And this is also trying to be as transparent as possible. I really want this to be a transparent product that you can trust and that you can see how it's working, and not just a black box that you put your code into. Then we have a lot of documentation, how it works, and how you can actually use it. The best thing is give this to your Cloud Code, and it will work, and it will scan it and figure out the best way. And then there's a quick start, how to install it. So the only thing you need to do is actually run this if you're on a Mac or Linux. If you're on Windows, you need to use a PowerShell, and then you can verify everything with Nimbus version. Or if you are more interested in reading it on GitHub, you can find me on Nimbus Solutions/Nimbus. And if you like the product and would like to see more of it, would be cool if you could give it a star, so it will be trending a bit more. But yeah, here you can see all the information, and then I have a demo repository. This demo repository is about a fictional coffee brewery that has a coffee subscription, and it's Berlin-based, because I know all the Berliners like their coffee. It will give you an overview how to use your Nimbus. So if you don't have a repository handy, you can definitely use that. It's trying to be as non-invasive as possible, but there are some things that, of course, cannot be known by a local test runner, which is things like manage packages. That's something that's something you can do with stubs. So it will teach you how to use stubs for managed packages. And then there's also the Nimbus properties file, which is similar to a Java Quarkus like properties file, where you can configure a bit of the environment, you can see data, and other things. So for example, here, if you have a label that you want to seed, this is how you would do it. And you don't need the whole thing in your repository, but you can commit the Nimbus properties file to GitHub, so you can share it with your whole team, and you don't have the setup only on your system. Yeah, so I have cloned this repository already. You can see it's very standard, has a Force app folder, has some classes, custom metadata, flows, labels, etc. And then the SFTX project JSON is the most important thing to understand about Nimbus, because it will use the standard way of how Salesforce defines an SFTX project. So if you have your path in here, Nimbus will find your classes. And then, yeah, let's just get started. Write Nimbus test. It gets the environment ready. You see that's a .nimbus folder here, and it ran all the tests in this. It also gives you a bit of breakdown. So we have a overall walk log time of 528 milliseconds, and this is where the time went. This is on parallel running, so this is not walk log time. And you can see it exactly. I have 255 queries that were executed here, 569 writes, and all the code that was executed took 1.1 seconds. So if you're testing the classes, and you can directly see where did the time go. This is, of course, not official governor limits, so I can't fake that it runs the same way on Salesforce. I can't fake that it uses the same hardware. You always use your hardware. So if the test runs in 2 milliseconds here, but on Salesforce it will break the CPU time. I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. If you want to do something else, like just run this test, you can run Nimbus test. Oh, 1 second. So this was the cold run. Now on the Pro version, because I said this has more performance, it will run faster because it has pre-warmed the daemon, the cache in there, and it will be way faster. But yeah, if you want to run a single test, you can do this by running Nimbus test class, or of course Nimbus test and use the exact method that you want to run. For me, when I had this and you wanted to use it in my project everyday life, it was great, but I didn't want to always go into the CLI. So I have developed a VS Code extension. You can also find it on OpenVSX, so you can also use in Cursor, and just install it, and it will give you all the commands that are important also here. So for example, if I want to run the test class here, I can just run here. Oh, great. This is exactly what I didn't want. So let me just reload. I hope it will work then. Because I killed the whole thing before the start. You can run it now, I hope. Yeah, so you see directly with some code lines, this ran past in 9 milliseconds, and we can do this for everything. There's also some configurations, like if you like to save and then want to run all your test classes that in the test suite, that can be enabled. So I just saved it, ran the whole test automatically for me. That's something that I found was really, really useful. Same thing, okay, this is really, really simple. This is just a pricing service that says I have a retail price of 12.5. I expect 50 of this. Please calculate it for me for weekly, and weekly you see it will return times the amount times 4, which will result in 50. So this is very easy, no database interaction at all. Where it becomes super interesting is triggers. And because there's no way around triggers in Salesforce. And let's have a look here. We have the brew account handler, and there should be a test for that. So for example, this one. Insert normalize website, lowercase. We have a new account that inserts example.com, and you expect that it's lowercase in the end. So I run the test, and we see it passed. And just to confirm what's actually happening, I have an insert on the account, and that should trigger this. So I go here for the lowercase. So this is the method normalize website. It puts it to lowercase, and then yes, that's the a.website. So therefore, we expect that this works because it's in the before insert trigger. And to show you that I'm not cheating, I have the account trigger. This is a super simple framework that just says, okay, if you're in the insert, run the before insert. So therefore, we're running a normalized website. There is, let me show you this before. So there's something that I kind of got inspired from Java Quarkus, which is the development UI. So even if you're not developing in a VS Code environment or anywhere else, you always have the full capabilities of Nimbus in here, and you can run the tests from here. It's sometimes a bit quirky, so it actually ran the test, but here it doesn't doesn't acknowledge that it ran, but you can actually see it ran. You can rerun it. You can look at a trace of what actually happened. Insert account, then has calls the brew handler before insert, then goes into a loop, and so on and so on. So this is all completely searchable. Example. So this is off script. I haven't tested this. Okay, I think the UI is not too great yet. It also has a timeline, a flame graph, a call tree, and the log. So because we are not running against a Salesforce Salesforce org, we don't have any traces, so we don't have any debug logs. So I did my own debug logs, which you can see in here. And you can see some other things like anonymous Apex. So there's also a Nimbus exec functionality, which you can run from the CLI. I just like this a bit more. It's a bit more the developer experience, developer console like. So if I run this, it says hello from Nimbus. And I can also create a map ID string. Oh, let's make it string. Equal my map equals new map string. So and now we put in my map dot put abc cd. Okay, now system.debug my map. Yeah, I went off script here.
You are missing behind the E. You are missing something. Oh, CDE and S. So there we go.
So yeah, you can then see like this actually populates the map, and you can debug it. I can see if that works. So you have a bit more of a dynamic view, and if it gets too big, it's similar to when you would use the Chrome console to look at arrays and at maps. You can just open them and then click through the exact things that you're interested in. And this also executes the same code as if you were testing it in a test class. So let's just insert this account. First thing I want to show you is system debug A. So it actually writes this to Apex. So this has an ID, this account. It's in the database, persisted in the database, and I can now do A equals select ID from account where ID equals A.ID. Okay, just to show you here, a.website, it should be example.com. And now we are overriding it with what's in the database from the trigger, and you see it has been double cased. So it's the full package. It also runs with auto triggered flows and record triggered flows, I think, as well. It should be as close to your normal Apex experience as you can get. Something that I have prepared here is some branches. So this Berlin brew company has a few features shipping, and there's a developer that has just had a feature about tweaking the cadence multiplier. So this is this branch. Couldn't copy it. This is this branch, and again, to show you I'm not cheating, I run Nimbus test. You see everything is clean and 100% working. I check out to this branch and I run Nimbus test, and it clears the cache, and you now see directly, okay, there's something broken. I need to fix this. What I like to do is I like to use the watch mode. If you just use it like this, it will watch the full repository. There's nothing you have to change to do that. But of course, in big repositories, you don't always want to run all the tests because it can take like up to 40 seconds, at least for what I have built for myself. But in this case, it's fine. But I can also just go Nimbus watch and watch this. Then it only watches the test class. But in this case, I watch it. It runs all the tests. Okay, so this is breaking. Expected 50, got 25. And I can show you what the developer did here. Is this one, a very simple change. They changed the calculation from weekly to be base times 5 instead of base times 4, which is a requirement from the business. So we can't argue that the test class, that this is wrong, but the test class is broken in this case. And we looked at this test before. It was the pricing service. So it's just changed the base here, and the test class is exactly this. 12.5 times 5 is unfortunately not 50, but 62.5. Okay, so there's two ways that we can fix this. We can either say business is wrong. Let's set it back to 4. And it automatically passes now because all the tests in the repository are working. But I can also just go in here and I can say I expected 62.5. So 51 will fail. You see directly it expects 62.5. So everything's working now, and I can commit it and push it. Let me go out here, git status. I will commit this. First stage this, then commit it. Fixed fail test, and then I push it. And I have a pipeline in Nimbus that will now run, hopefully. If I still have my limits available. There it is. Okay. So it has the Apex test run, pulls the Nimbus, installs it, caches Nimbus, and then runs Apex test. It has to be a cold start because we can have a cache here, and runs the full suite, and done. I have my feature request validated that it didn't break anything else in the org. I can also see directly the coverage in every method and every class, and that everything is working. This coverage I can also see by clicking here on coverage or using the right thing in Nimbus. So it's Nimbus test minus coverage to see that. I can show you a lot more. I'm not sure, Roman, should we?
I could watch you a lot more. Really, this is awesome. I mean, we already got some feedback here in the chat. Others are also enjoying it. I mean, this is really insanely good. Yeah. So, and I'm wondering actually where you've been over the last 10 years, and why nobody else did actually think about something like this, or maybe people thought about it but never did something like that. So yeah, it's absolutely impressive, right? So not only in terms of speed, but also, at least from my point of view, how you actually implemented it, right? How it is usable, how we can actually use it. It's super easy to be installed. It's super transparent, as you just said. Everything is available, what I personally as a developer like. So there's documentation, there's transparency, it's easy to be installed. There's cool operating systems first approach, but even Windows is available, which I like. So yeah, it's insanely good, right? And what you just said, that you also are working or are already providing a solution for Visual Studio Code for all our clicky friends out there. I really love it. Yeah, I mean, it's insanely good. So with that said, and you actually showed it, right? I had so many questions, and I highly encourage the participants one more time to also provide any question they have in mind. I've already seen that you actually provided in your test repository a CI/CD pipeline, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about speed. And I mean, most of us, we get paid by the hour. So if something takes long, well, take your time and get paid for it, right? On the other hand, it's annoying, it's boring, and at least I myself, I'm constantly frustrated if you have, I mean, I work in some orgs which are pretty huge, so we have several thousand tests there, and then you can wait for it because for some reason there's a little order how these tests are executed by Salesforce, and you can't bet on it. It will be the second from the last which fails, right? So you sit there for an hour or even longer, and then something fails. And I really hate this. And I think with Nimbus, this can be insanely great because when you, and you showed it already, right? You can include Nimbus in your CI/CD stack. And you can run Nimbus up front in all your CI jobs, and just let Nimbus do its stuff. And when Nimbus says it will work, besides from the small things which it cannot handle, like for example Apex CPU time and what you just said, right? You can be pretty sure that your test will succeed, which gives you way more confidence. And on the other hand, what I will always say is I like it when it fails fast. So if it fails, I want to know it immediately. And this is what you just presented, and I think this will be great, right? So, yeah, as I said, I'm really impressed. I mean, this is insanely good. I have to admit, I haven't tried it yet, but I already installed it while you were presenting because it was so super easy. I really love it. Again, I have tons of questions actually. First of all, CI/CD integration we just talked about, right? Mm-hmm. First of all, what was your moment in the past where you said, well, I have to do this now? Was it just for fun, or was it another really long waiting time where you got frustrated and thought, oh man, come on, screw it, I will build it myself now?
It was a lot of things at the same time, I would say. A lot of good things coming together. I was just going and exploring Go and found a nice package that makes Go CLI work look really, really nicely. And then I did a project, and I thought to myself, I have this idea since a couple of years already. I was never able to do it. Now this could be my first CLI project that I am working on. And I think at the same time or around the time also Opus 4.8 was released. So as I already mentioned, I have been building this a lot with, like, it started out as vibe coding, to be honest. Then got way more serious at the end. Yeah. And Opus 4.8 was able to provide me with the right structure of how I want to build it, and actually build it in Go, because I had not so much knowledge on how to build an interpreter with Apex with Go. And I was just going left and right, checking, should I use Java for the CLI, because Apex is so close to Java. But in the end, like, I had the decision to use Go because I wanted to use the really nice TUI. I think it was called Bubble Tea. I'm not using that much anymore, but for example, in the Nimbus schema or something like this, you can still see it has really nice UI, and I wanted to explore that. So this is still actually how I started. And yeah, I think a lot of things just coming together, and luckily in this case also the AI being able to support me, because I can tell you, without AI, without the amount of speed, without the amount of code it can generate for you, and if you use it correctly, this wouldn't have been possible, because they have thousands
absolutely
of code.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely valid, and I think that Opus 4.8 is a motivation for lots of us. because you are getting things done now, right? If you're professionals like we are, you have the thing in mind. You would actually know what needs to be done. However, AI is way faster, and together one can become a dream team, which is awesome because it gives you a lot of speed, and it's not the typical vibe coding because we know what we do. We just have AI as our third and fourth hand to be faster. It's more like pair programming or pair developing, right? Wow. So another question which is really in my mind is how much stuff, and by stuff I mean everything, how much Salesforce did you had to re-implement somehow?
A lot. So you can't even imagine what kind of things work in Apex and how they work.
Yeah.
And how they don't work in another language.
Yeah.
So my development approach was not the scientific. I read all the docs and I make every single class work one by one, and then I have all the tests in there. All the objects that I need to support. But I actually went with an approach like, okay, so it started out as, I have this Apex code and please make sure it runs. So everything I did was test driven. And I started with my self-written repositories that became more and more difficult with time. And because I knew what I was expecting, I could tell, okay, Nimbus is behaving not correctly. And if I wasn't sure, I could deploy to Salesforce and then validate, is my understanding of this actually true? I think one thing I didn't know before this, for example, a Boolean returns as null if you don't initialize it. I thought it would initialize, it would be false. I think this is how it defaults in other languages. So this was one assumption that where I came in, and it worked for a lot of use cases. But then I went into these open source repositories, and it didn't work eventually. So I then went into Mitch Spano's Apex trigger framework, into other trigger frameworks that were open source, and eventually got myself the end boss, which is the Nebula logger, which took the most amount of time to actually make it work. But like the whole journey was corpus driven. I was like, this needs to work. I can confirm it works, and I need to find a way how it should work.
Which actually brings up another cool point, right? Because you're mentioning Nebula logger, which is a valid boss fight, right? What's about other frameworks which are available? Like, for example, still pretty famous, like this what's it called, Apex framework, fflib. So from Financial Force in the old days. So these heavy frameworks, they're all supported, aren't they? It doesn't matter, actually. It's just Apex code.
Exactly. And going to war stories, a little bit here. When I got a bit tired of always watching what is Claude actually implementing, I got a quick reminder why I should always keep an eye on it, because it was treating fflib as a standard vanilla Apex function.
Oh, nice. Yeah. See, so this is how good it is.
Yeah. So eventually I read through the code and I was like, okay, this is working, but but why does it not work for the other one, for the other repository that does the exact same dependency injection? And then figured out I have fflib underscore specific handling in the code. So from that day on, I kept always an eye on actually what is being implemented and keeping track. But yeah, everything is vanilla Apex. I do not have any repository specific behavior. There are some things that are a bit quirky with Apex where I had to find interesting solutions. I think it was for IDs that are sometimes 15 characters and sometimes 18 characters. But everything is, as far as I can tell, 100% vanilla Apex, and it should run with every Apex code you find.
And you also mentioned it in a half sentence somewhere, because when we do Apex testing, or also the anonymous Apex, which you showed a couple of seconds ago, it also covers, well, Apex test run covers flows, like record triggered flows, right? It might even cover some crazy things like processes or something like that, or all the other old these old automation things which are still available or are at least around in Salesforce. This will all work as long as it is locally in the repository you are running Nimbus, right?
Exactly. Every flow, as I said, I don't have the full overview of all the nodes in a flow,
Sure.
because I went this corpus-driven approach, and everything that I can find online, I will try to add. But if I don't have any visibility if it actually works, it's hard. But
Sure.
yeah, if the flow is there, it will load it. It will also parse it through the interpreter like Apex code. So everything is being loaded on at runtime. You can think of it like building a Java application. It just builds your repository and then executes the test on the repository. Validation rules work. They will be added to the Postgres as true validations on Postgres. So everything is trying to be as close as possible to Salesforce and the database functionality.
Wow. How do you how do you actually handle formula fields? Specifically, if they're more and more complex, right? People love to write complex formulas, and you are basically taking the available data model and you are putting it into a PostgreSQL database, right? Does this? There are actually two questions while I'm thinking about it. First of all, you take the data model from the local repository, or do you actually talk to some connected sandbox or something? And the second question is, how do you actually handle formula fields?
So Salesforce has all the formulas available that you can use online. So you can. I've built a formula interpreter that builds the formula and saves the field on the database. And formulas are super difficult to understand sometimes, because when are they being recalculated? How does it exactly work? So I think a lot of these issues I found actually in Nebula Logger that was working with formula fields. I hope it was Nebula. Otherwise, it was something else. I was thinking like, okay, this formula was working for other things already, but then I figured out, okay, if you do this and this and this in Apex, the formula actually gets recalculated. Or how do you deal with the manual recalculation of the formula field, and then how do you access it from the database? Because you need to do a requery of Postgres, of the PostgreSQL, which sometimes affected the performance. So a lot of these things were always also performance driven. That's something I can share later. But yeah, the formula feels super difficult, I would say, and it's all saved in the database and then will be recalculated.
Okay. Wow. So is there wait 1 second, where are my questions? So you can basically, what we can say is that you can basically cover more or less everything which is available in Salesforce, right? But it might happen that over time, and this is actually then the next question, Salesforce has these crazy release cycles, right? And things are changing over time, not always to the better, but still they're changing. So it also means for you that you have to run a little bit behind it, or what's your experience so far?
I have not implemented API version 67 yet. Well, I will do that soon when I find the time. I have API support for the metadata files. So I actually read the metadata files of what's going on. And for example, here you can see it will also tell you things about your code. So this one references system assert are equal, which was here, but the class has API version 52, so we will not be able to deploy it. Nice. I have a library of functions that were introduced by API version, and then you can enable a strict mode that will just tell you straight up fail this class, or you can say I want to go with the soft mode and then want to fail it maybe later on. But sometimes it's a bit hard to figure out when was what's released, because in some release note it says, okay, this was released now in summer 25, but in winter 25 you get the exact same release, and it's hard to say like when was this official release. So I'm always going with the soft mode. Like in this case, it's not failing fast. You can set it up with the Nimbus properties to always go on strict mode if you want to.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So yeah, basically, as I said, right, it's impressive. I really love to play around with it. I'm pretty sure that I will provide some testing feedback as you were requesting. I also encourage the others here on the call to do the same, especially if the free version or the pro version is freely available at the moment. And talking about freely available, building your own indie dev tool, right, in the world of Salesforce. So you said that you invest lots of your free time. And I see this, at least in my filter bubble around LinkedIn and all the other places we serve around, that more and more people are actually developing products, which is great. There might be a little connection to Opus 4.8 and all the other models, right, which is still great. However, more and more people like to provide their solutions as open source, which is in the sense of our culture, of our software developer mind, which is actually a great thing. However, on the other side, we also have to pay our invoices. We have to feed the kids and the dogs, right? And I totally understand my personal opinion, and I'm asking for yours. I'm totally understand when someone develops something and says, okay, I want to get paid for that. However this payment looks like. Yeah? Might it be in the subscription? Might it be a one-time price? Might it be freely available and then providing support will cost money or something like that? So what's your opinion on this one? Specifically, if you already thought about a pricing model. So what's your idea behind it? And what are your thoughts on these things?
Yeah, that's an absolutely good question. I love the features that we have that are being built by the developers in the Salesforce community. There's a deployment framework that I love to use, which is SFP, and it was openly available. I could use it every day without paying, and always wanted to. If I want to use the better features, I can pay for it. But I think this also started as a free project. All the triggers frameworks that are available, the one from Mitch Spano, for example, are absolutely great. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a certain standard that us the Salesforce developers we can set for ourselves. With this project, I was thinking initially, let's do it open source, and I was so close to actually releasing it open source, and then I was hesitating because it took a lot of time, and like I was sitting there for every week, every day or end of the day. I was sitting there on weekends to make this work, and I also thought, like, if I make this open source, people will have a lot of opinions on how I handle things, how certain things need to be. And this is like I told before, this is a deeply personal project that solves a deeply personal issue, and also is shaped by the experiences that I have made along the way. So I didn't want to make it open source, even though it could help to develop it faster. But I wanted it to be closed source and then have the runtime available for everyone forever. And then I added more and more features where I thought, okay, this is essentially not needed for everyone. This is for the core users, the pros that really use this every day. And I have already provided everything for free, which is like what I would like to see on a product. I don't want to pay a premium price to just test it. I want to be able to test it, and then if I see it has benefit for me, I would be happy to support the developer. And I used this as a motivation to also say, okay, I invested money and time into building this. If someone wants to support me for this and thinks this is cool, I'm absolutely happy to make this a company. If one day I say I can no longer support this by myself, and I cannot employ anyone to develop this, maybe I can make it and make it open source. Maybe not, but so right now it's working quite nicely. I can self-sustain from my day job, so I don't need to have this as a paid version 100% right now. But yeah, a lot of thought went in there, but I definitely started it out as this could be open source. This could be a lot of people contributing to this, but then it would no longer be my product. And I really don't want to have these discussions at night while I can build something and make it my own.
Yeah, nice. Okay, gotcha. I mean, yeah, interesting, right? It's always a question about your time investment, because, as you said, you have a day job which pays you. However, you only have one life, which means that all the free time you are investing, you're doing this on your own, right? So you're paying with your free time. On the other hand, we are nerds, right? We have to do this shit.
This is just fun.
Yeah, got it. And I mean, it's recognizable, and I think everybody can agree that it's a lot of fun for you as well. Talking a little bit more about developing and creating a software product in Germany, as we are both based in Germany. So, what's just very shortly, what's your experience regarding laws and taxes and all the crazy shit stuff, which makes it very difficult to do something for your own in Germany? Are you afraid of that? Is this something where you can say you can handle it, or do you wish to live in another country where you first build, then you earn money, and in the end you also pay taxes, obviously, but that's the last step, and not like in Germany, the other way around?
Yeah, absolutely. I hate it. So the first thing you need to do is when you have a day job, you need an approval from
Yes, of course, yeah.
that you can actually do. You are actually allowed to do this, even if it started out as a hobby. Like once I file a company, I need the approval. Then I need to check exactly what kind of company I want to open. I think I was so close to opening a UG, which would have cost me a lot of money, I think, and I would need a lawyer and handle all the bureaucracy. So I had a lot of consultations with the family who have already their own business. Then you have to file with the Berlin company registration
authority, something. Yeah.
Then I figured out this isn't enough. I also need to file it with the Finanzamt.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why I was struggling to launch this product in the beginning was I wanted to go with Live Pro initially already with the paid version, and then after this took all this time and all this energy, I said, okay, now actually this could be of advantage for me. I don't have anything in order for this. I'll just launch it and I make everything for free. So people, because all the features are here, you can test it. And people were waiting for the release, and I wanted to give them the full suit. So right now, because I haven't figured out anything with the taxes yet, I'm not sure if I can sell to the within the EU or to other countries that are not in the EU. That's a lot of things I will figure out in the next couple of months. So the longer I take to figure my stuff out, the more time you have with Nimbus Pro. So good for you.
Nice.
And it definitely is terrible system.
I see, right? So actually what we do in Germany, for all the others joining who might not be from Germany, our taxes and laws are so complicated that we actually build the stuff for free because it's easier. Yeah, got it. Okay. So thanks for that and for your experience with all these crazy things. I think I have not that many more questions. So who's still with us here today, feel free to ask anything you want about René and this project. If I haven't covered it yet, even if we ask the same question again, then it's also fine. Let me ask you, what are the plans for Nimbus high level for the next months, years, decades? So what are the next steps? What do you personally think would enrich this tool, which is already awesome, even more?
So I think right now the most important thing is community feedback, because I have a limited amount of repositories that I can use, and some people that already found Nimbus gave super valuable feedback already. So if there's anything that you're missing in there that might make your life better on a day-to-day, this is I will definitely have a look at it and add it. Apart from that, I will keep looking at other ecosystems and we'll have a look at how are they doing things. Because one thing I learned from Java Quarkers is, one thing is the dev UI, the other thing is they have something called dev services. So you can spin up your keycloak internally. You can spin up everything else. You don't need to have everything in Docker, Compose, and make sure that it works. But they have ready-made environments, and it was like, okay, we really don't need that much of Keycloak or Kafka or anything, or these kind of services here. But I have been working with developers in the same company that wanted to call a Salesforce API, and they wanted to confirm that it works. But until I get the approval of sending them the credentials, it can take some time. So there's now something called the Nimbus server, which has its own dashboard. This is a local host that exposes all the REST APIs that you have in your system. So you see available, we have the subscription endpoint. And I'm not sure if it's 100% ready for the demo, but what I can definitely show you is I have this Postman demo. Hope it's correct. Yeah, so this is actually referencing the right endpoint. So you can use curl, you can use Postman, anything you want to actually post against this endpoint. So
out of nothing, you just presented here another cool feature. Okay, got it. Maybe you should increase the price instead of freely available. Okay, nice.
Yeah. So if you're running a Java application and you want to actually confirm it's working locally.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I can already think about several use cases for that. Yeah. Insane.
And you can also see it's being logged. And because this was unauthenticated, there's also a mode with authentication where you have to send a bearer token.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are things I'm trying to implement, but of course, like one day I'm running out of cool ideas. And if you have,
no worries. Yeah.
If you have been working with, I don't know, you were working in Rust and then suddenly you were developing in Salesforce, I don't know why you would do that. But if there's something really cool you're missing and could be of benefit, join the Slack channel, open an issue on the GitHub repository, anything you want, and I'll have a look at that.
Okay, nice. You just answered Martin's question, because Martin was just asking concerning feedback, which channel do you actually prefer? But you just said it right. There's a Slack channel. There's obviously GitHub where you can provide an issue or open an issue. And the rest, where else are you available besides from any conference from now on? Maybe I don't know. Are you on Reddit? Are you on Discord or whatever these cool kids use to do?
I think in this case I'm only on LinkedIn for this project at least. Here you can see the issues that have been opened so far. A lot of have been closed. So you can also request features here. This was from a big org where the user said, I have 790 as objects, and it takes a lot of time to actually start Nimbus because it first has to populate the database. So feature request for that. And I was already thinking maybe we can dynamically create the databases so it doesn't really take so much time. So maybe we can do this, and then there is the Slack channel linked here, which you can go to, and then it's really small. We don't really have many people here.
Which is fine.
And if you want to join and give some feedback or share anything cool that you have built with Nimbus or anything else, happy to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely nice. So Martin, I think this answers your question, right? Cool. Wow. We talked a little bit, besides from talking about Nimbus itself, we also talked about your next steps. So I was missing a next step because I think you don't know yet, but I really hate Visual Studio Code, right? So, and I think, yes, of course, right? So when is the IntelliJ version, at least for the UI part, coming?
You can use the language server already, which should enable everything for you. This is working for IntelliJ. Oh, I forgot where it was.
I mean, it's available on the website, obviously.
Yeah, so it's somewhere available on the website how you can actually integrate it with IntelliJ already. But I want to have a dedicated extension for IntelliJ for sure.
Nice.
That's also really good.
Nice. I mean, we are the command line kids. However, there are people out there who also love to click from time to time. Okay, nice. Wow. So Varun is actually asking in the Q&A. Wait, let me just shortly. I will read it aloud, Varun. Yeah, I haven't read the question yet, so please stay with me. Are you also thinking of adding any features to auto-write or suggest test class creation if they aren't available for some classes in a repository? That might help with increasing the overall code coverage of an org. Maybe as a suggestion to the users if they want to take any action.
Yes, and I was thinking about auto-generating with Nimbus, but I then came to the conclusion that it doesn't make sense because you're using, if you're auto-generating, you're using AI, and why would I be able to make a better product than Anthropic by generating your code? What I do have is Nimbus skills. So there is a repository about these skills. You can install them with the Nimbus CLI, and I want to add more skills that might be relevant for you. So this is something that you can use for Claude Code to generate good tests, for example. And there's also a Nimbus MCP, which is a bit contradictory for using a local tool with an MCP, but it actually helps Claude to get structured data from the output and doesn't have to rely on the CLI. So I have been using that as well, and it has produced like really good.
Wow, nice. Okay. So hopefully, Varun, this answers your question as well. One last thing which just popped in my mind. Did you actually ever thought about potential legal implications about this?
Brian, I didn't get it.
So I mean, you are actually building some functionality which is on by yourself, which runs locally, so that you can run Apex code. Did you ever thought about that this might be a legal issue with Salesforce? That it's somewhere deep down in the documents of Salesforce legal stuff forbidden to do something like that?
Yes, I have not consulted a lawyer for that.
Of course, no, this is just nerds talking right now.
Exactly, but I was thinking that I'm not stealing any intellectual property. I'm not going into the Salesforce code and replicating the code with another language. So I'm not reverse engineering it. I'm using everything that's available online, and and also the Apex language is not, as far as I know, intellectual property that I'm stealing, because I'm interpreting it, and therefore I don't think there's a legal issue with it. I know that Salesforce is actively supporting a lot of the community building features. And I also think they also know that there are a lot of people that wanted something like this for a long time. So I guess, and I hope everything is fine with Salesforce. If they say they don't want such a product, I'm also happy to talk to them and then maybe shut it down. Maybe.
No. It's the other way around, René. If they have a problem with that, you just offer to buy it, right? Because it's way faster, way better than what they provide. So it can all just be for an advantage for them.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I like it. So yeah, wow, René. If Mark Benioff calls you tomorrow and wants to talk to you, what would you actually ask him after all the experience? Do you have any question for him? This typical, why the heck did you do it like that? Or is there any question which you could not get answered yet, where you would say, okay, it would be great to talk to someone who implemented this in Apex and why they did it this way?
I think formulas are for sure one thing that I would like to talk to someone.
Mark, we have to talk. Yes.
But a lot of the things I've struggled with in this project was case Apex is case insensitive.
Yes.
99% of all the time. Sometimes it actually is case sensitive, especially if you're working with maps. And then suddenly your whole implementation doesn't work anymore, and you have to find like 1,000 different edge cases, not only for maps that are case insensitive, but a lot of other things that worked that work one way, but when you do one small thing, it works the other way. I have a full Obsidian knowledge base of things that don't work the way I expected them to work.
Nice.
I can't pull one example exactly from there.
But there are these crazy things where you sometimes think, why is it like that? On the other hand, to be fair, I mean, it's a growing system over the years. They invested a lot of time and built a very, very good product, which we all love. And there are obviously some historic things, right? Why is it there? It's there for historical reasons. And yeah, I mean, it's getting better and better. Okay, wow, René.
I think the biggest question would be like, why does this not exist yet, even though people have been asking for a long time?
Yes.
And why can I build it if in a couple of months with, okay, a lot of Salesforce knowledge, but I don't have the source code of Apex. And if I would have had that, I would have been much faster.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest as well, I don't know about your opinion, and maybe we slowly close it with this. There's lots of investment besides of all the AI stuff. There's lots of investment in Flow Builder recently, right? Which is great for the people working with Flow Builder. However, on the Apex side, there's so much stuff which we are waiting for years now. Besides from some smaller things, there's basically nothing new, nothing which is on idea exchange being asked for years. So sometimes I think they forget about us here deep down in the machine room. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive, René. I really love it. Great.
Thank you.
So with this and with you closing your presentation right now, let me share my screen one more time because I provided the typical QR code. So everybody who's still in the call, thanks for joining. Hopefully it was interesting for you. You enjoyed it. You've learned something new. Go to testnimbus.dev and start working on it today. I'll provided the links here in the chat as well. And then obviously grab your phone right now and scan the left QR code, which is René's LinkedIn, and follow him there and connect to him. As you can see, he's a super friendly guy who will always answer any question and who's willing to drive his product. And it would be great if people who are using it, that we can also give something back to him by providing some feedback on the things we discover. And rest assured, René, I will definitely do, right?
Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you so much, René. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks every participant for staying with us. Hopefully you learned something. Thanks also for your questions. And it was a nice time. I really enjoyed it. And René, we talk soon, right? Thank you so much.
Soon.
Okay. Bye, guys. Good.
Bye.